In this video, we're just going to talk about how we declare arrays. But first, let's talk about what arrays are. Let's say I was writing a program and I needed to keep track of 10 test scores, right? What I could do would be to declare variables, right? I could say int score 1, score 2, score 3, score 4, score 5, right, etc. Right? You get the idea. So with 10, maybe it's doable. Let's say I needed to store 100 scores. This would start to get very cumbersome. So most programming languages have the ability to create an array of variables, of values. So let's understand how we set up an array. To declare it in our program. If I were going to declare one integer value called score, I would do this, right? Int score. If I want to declare an array of scores, meaning like 10 of them or 100 of them, I could do it in 3 different ways. I can type int and then bracket bracket scores. That works, right? I could type int bracket bracket scores 1. I'm calling it scores 1 so I won't get an error. Or I could say int scores with the brackets there. All of these are fine. They all declare an array. What I recommend you do is you choose one that you're going to use all the time and then stick with it and be consistent. So for me, you're going to see in my examples, I tend to leave the variable type alone, and then I put my variable name, and then at the end I say, yes, this is an array by putting those brackets there. Now, this states that there's a variable called scores, and it is an array, and each element of the array must be an integer. However, this does not set up any room for those elements. For instance, I didn't specify how big I want this array to be, how many different scores are going to be stored in there. So the way we do that is we come over after the declaration and we say equals new int, and we give it a value in brackets like that. So what does this line mean? This line is saying I have an array called scores, okay? And every element in the array is a type integer. And there are 10 integers that are going to get stored in that array. So I'll be able to hold 10 different scores in that one array. If I wanted 100 different scores, I could make that 100, okay? So that's how we declare an array. Okay, so if I wanted to have an array of strings, I would do the same thing. I would say string, I don't know, names, and say it's an array, and then I could say equals new string, right, 100. And this would create a variable named names. It's an array. Each element in the array is a string type. And this array names has the ability to hold 100 strings in it. Okay, so this is the declaration of the array. Same thing. Let's say I was doing floating point numbers, right? Averages, right? Same thing. I would say equals new float, right? And then say I want 1,000 of them in there. And this is called the array declaration, and it initializes the array. It basically says this is how much space is allocated in this array. Okay? In the following videos, we'll see how you go about using these arrays.